Mrs. Dudley here. I am so excited to be outside on this beautiful winter day. We're going to be doing something really exciting today, and it's one of the few harvests that we can have in the wintertime. So we're going to head over to our maple grove, also known as our sugar bush, here at the school. So as you can see, the school's right next to me, and I'm just walking over to meet some of the helpers we have today.
This is the time of year when the temperature is going above freezing during the day and below freezing at night. And that's when it makes the kind of sap pump start going. And it's been that way for a while, but this is, I don't know, today felt like a good time to do it, and we'll definitely get plenty more of those days this year. One really identifying feature about maple trees is you see how the twigs are coming off like right opposite of each other. Not a lot of trees have that quality. And also, if we look closely at the bud, we can, get a feel for that and see how it's coming out with the two on the side and that top part. And also the bark, you see how it has these little like freckles almost on it. That's a good sign of maple as well. So that's the best way to identify it, but with the younger ones. But then if we look over at like an older maple tree, such as this is a maple tree right here. So the younger maple trees, it's a fairly smooth bark. Like it just has a little bit of roughness, and it has these like lighter, almost yellowish lines with the darker bark kind of dividing it. But then if we look at an older maple tree, let's see, here's an older one, just a little bit older over here, maybe 10 years older, but you see it's getting bumpier. Like it definitely, you can feel the difference for sure. So that's another, just as it ages, it gets bumpier. And yeah, that's how I figure out my maples. And notice these are sugar maples specifically, and they're pretty straight, not a whole lot of branches coming off of them, and they don't grow real fast. That's another part of sugar maples. But this is just the maple that we have here, because there's silver maple, there's red maple, there's box elder, which doesn't sound like a maple, but is a maple. I like tapping the sugar maple and silver maple just because there's a lot of them around also. And like people use them for landscaping too, so they're like in front of houses, really big. And black walnut is another tree we can tap. Identifying, of course, is the first step. And then we want to decide where we'd like to drill into the maple tree. So the south side is where the most sap flows, but you also can't tap the same side of the maple tree every year because you want to space it out at least. So here, the south side, well, the sun's over there and it's winter, so I'm thinking that way south. So we would want to tap probably over here. And oh my gosh, I think this is where we tapped last year or the year before.
Yes.
Whoa. It has not fully healed yet, so we can see that it takes time for that to happen. So we will not tap, since the veins of the tree run up and down, we will definitely not tap above or below it, but like 6 inches to the side of it on one way or the other. And I feel like probably over here, just because it looks like happier over here. And there's like some past injuries that have happened clearly for that big gash to be there. And also you can see all these little holes from the sap suckers, which is an insect that likes to drink the sap as well. So this guy I feel like is worn out right here, so we'll probably tap it over here just to get the fresh veins. As I drill, I'm gonna make sure I have it so gravity, it's just gonna like pull the sap out, so I'll do it at a slightly upward angle so the sap flows out. And I'm gonna be drilling into the veins of the tree. We're basically drinking the tree's blood, and it's delicious. And it's called the xylem and phloem, which are the veins of the tree actually. So that's where the sap's running up and down. So I'm gonna drill and find where that is.
Have a hand drill. Is that what that's called?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a simple hand drill. Of course, you can use regular drills, but they're loud, and I like them just human-powered sort of thing. So it takes a little longer, but I get to know the tree a little more. See how deep am I now? Tighten that. A little over an inch in right now. Right. I'm not seeing the sap drip right now. Not that it necessarily will, but often it will. So I'm hoping to get a little bit of that.
Good.
So it hasn't gotten above freezing yet today. So the sap probably won't be flowing like it would be if it had gotten above freezing, like at this point in the day. So I'm probably not going to find sap flowing, but I'm pretty sure I'm about deep enough as far as I need to go. I'll just do a little bit more to make sure.
Now
So-
you're blowing out the.
Just the little, basically sawdust kind of thing that happens when I do this, because I don't know, I don't want it to go in the maple water as much. Not that it's a real problem, and if you filter the maple water, you'll get it all out. But yeah. So if we look, if you want to, I don't know if you can get the camera in here, but you can see layers of the maple tree as it changes colors in there, which indicates the different layers of the tree, you know, starting with the growth layer, or starting with the bark, I guess, and then the layer where it's growing still, and that's also where the sap's flowing, and then the heartwood's deeper in. But yeah, I think that's deep enough. So
What would happen if you got into the heartwood? If you passed the cambium?
well, the heartwood's just like a hard center. It's almost, it's not dead. I mean, it's not considered dead, but it's not growing anymore. So I mean, it wouldn't cause a real problem, but it would leave more potential for infection in the tree if we go too deep. And that's what we don't want to do, because I'd like to tap it again next year. So just thinking about that.
Sustainability.
Yeah, and just being nice to a tree. Okay, here's a spile. And a rubber hammer, which is, we use rubber because if you use a metal hammer to knock these in, it can actually break the spile, and we don't want that. Yeah. So putting the smaller end into the tree. Yeah, seems pretty solid. Yeah, can I have a bucket? Okay, so always before you use a bucket, make sure you get all the stuff out of it. So that's pretty important, just because otherwise you're gonna have a bunch of like dust and hair and stuff in there, which just doesn't taste very good. So, okay, it looks pretty good now. And then just hang it up on here. Pretty solid. And then since we don't want too many bugs and leaves and bird poop to fall into it, we will just put a nice cover on it. Alright, that's what we're looking for. So that'll keep the rain and things from getting in there. And we'll surely collect sap in the next few days. So now that we tapped the maple tree, we need to think about like how often to check it, and definitely every day, at least once a day, because it'll flow really heavily with the right weather. Also, once it starts flowing, really, if you want to drink the sap, which tastes delicious, it's kind of like Gatorade, has electrolytes and all that, all those good nutrients, but it will also need to be done quickly. Because once it gets cloudy, which is fairly quickly, especially as it gets warmer out, that's when, you know, things are growing in it, and it might not make your tummy feel as good. So drinking it fresh is always the best. But also, if you want to boil it down, then it can last a little longer, you know, to make syrup. And remember, each gallon of syrup takes like 35 to 40 gallons of sap. So it's not a small process.
Thank you, Mr. Zuefle.
You're welcome. Thanks.